Hey everybody, Michael Snyder, your Pacific Northwest Weather Watch. Today is January 3rd, and right now we are looking at the mid-level water vapor loop. You can see BC, Washington, Oregon, California here. Check out this low pressure center, just an image of perfection out there. Very symmetrical. It's got even outflow that resembles kind of a hurricane out there across some of the tropical areas there. Although it is not, it is a mid-latitude cyclone here, but it is now rapidly deepening here. It's going to continue to move towards the west coast of North America, bring some impacts mainly along the coastal region, some of the higher elevations of British Columbia here, and some wind advisories are up because of this system here as we bring some offshore flow with it as well. We'll take a look at what kind of precipitation, what kind of impacts we can expect from this storm here coming up. Take a look at this wind advisory here. This is for the east winds in advance of this system, mainly across the foothills of the Cascades here across western Washington and out for the coastal regions. Again, this is for the east wind in advance of that system there. You can see some of the wind speeds associated with it. Some gusts up to 50 miles per hour are possible out there. So heads up, typical windy areas, North Bend, Enumclaw out there, for example. Now taking a look here, again, the wind advisory there for Seattle, but let's go ahead and look at this for damaging winds possible along the immediate Oregon coastline here and some of the higher terrain as well. So there is a high wind watch up for that across the area down there across southern Oregon. So heads up as the storm starts rolling in here. Now taking a look here, you've got the European on the left, GFS on the right, 18,000 feet, 500 millibars. General ridge and trough position, and you can clearly see this huge monster storm off our coastline here. Good model agreement, of course, in the short term, but as you go off in the extended a little bit more here, you can kind of see a pattern here. We're going to continue to bring deep lows and strong systems towards the west coast of North America here and continue to bring precipitation. Again, it's mainly going to be confined Cascades west, not big impacts east of the Cascades coming up here, but we're going to continue to bring precipitation. And you can see the Gulf of Alaska troughing remains active on both the GFS and the European, now at 160 hours shown here, and you can see that's very active off the Pacific Ocean here. That's going to mean a lot of precipitation for some of the areas here across Pacific Northwest and down through California, which I'll do a video on here later. But you can see pretty good model agreement all the way out through the 10-day period shown here. Now taking a look here, accumulated 10-meter max wind gust. If we put this into motion, you can see the system coming up. The higher terrain is going to get some nice winds from this, and some of the immediate Oregon coast gust up over 60 miles per hour possible. Northern California, southern Oregon Cascades as well. Some of the higher terrain in northeast Oregon also, and some of Vancouver Island, the immediate coastline, might get some breezy winds too, as well as the Olympic Mountains. More than breezy, pretty gusty up there. You can see Quileute topping out probably around 47, maybe 50 miles per hour, but some areas of southwest Washington, Astoria, Tillamook, Cannon Beach down there as you go towards Rockaway Beach, could get some pretty impressive winds out of this as well. But you can see the Willamette Valley has trended upwards a little bit from where we were yesterday. You can see some mid-40s showing up here, and some of the South Puget Sound area down the I-5 corridor towards Portland could get some mid-40s, could get some nuisance power outages because of that, as well as across the San Juans here. Whidbey Island could get some decent winds here as well in advance of this system, kind of a southeasterly component going across the northwest interior up the Strait of Georgia as well. Now taking a look here, this is the low pressure center. Let's watch it develop out here across the Pacific Ocean. So put this into motion, kind of that weak frontal system going through today and tonight. Very light precipitation generally with it, but you can see the huge cyclone out here off the coast of the west coast of North America here, bring that up. And you can see it start to fill as it move up the coastline, but it's still a fairly deep low pressure center here is 974 millibars. It's going to bring some of those strong winds along the coastline up towards Vancouver Island as we go and go off into the future a little bit more here. And you can see additional systems that will bring us precipitation here across Pacific Northwest. And it's going to kind of target the higher terrain of British Columbia as well and bring some nice snowfall to that area as well. Then another deep low off the California, Oregon, Washington coast there, and then off and through the extended, maybe another deep low moving up. And depending on the track of this one will make all the difference on just how windy we get across the interior areas. Again, right as this, you look at it here, it's more of a windy maker there for the coastal areas. Now, this is what's going on. Check out this jet stream roaring across Pacific Ocean here. This is at 39,000 feet. This is 100 hours out already. So let's just back it up a little bit here, but you can kind of see that. There goes that very deep low pressure system out here that's going right now. And this is just going to continue to be pointed right at the west coast of North America here. Continue this on. You can see additional systems rolling through here, and then potentially that deeper system as we go through the extended forecast. But you can see this jet stream is kind of relentless here, pointed at the west coast of North America. So we'll have to watch the track of these storms closely here across BC, Washington, and Oregon here is how much precipitation we're going to bring. Hopefully we can keep the snowpack going pretty good here across much of the Pacific Northwest. Now here's another look at this deep low pressure system. You can see this frontal system move up across the area round 1, then it's going to bring round 2 as we go through Thursday night into Friday morning, shown there, and then another system on the heels of that rolling towards the coastline. So you can see we're going to get multiple rounds of precip here across the western Washington, Oregon, the Cascades. You can see some snowfall piling up there, and across British Columbia as well. We'll look at some of those totals here in a moment, but you can see the storm train remains active here for the Pacific Northwest as we go into the extended. And this flow is going to be one to watch here. We'll have to maintain the track on this one, make sure it doesn't end up closer to the coast and create much stronger winds for our area. Now looking at total snow Kuchera ratio here. So this is actually the 18Z European. Let's actually back this up. That's a brand new run. Let's back it up to the 12Z. And you can see here, we build up the snowpack across the Cascades. British Columbia getting in the action too. Now we're out about 4 days right here, and you can see some of the areas getting pretty good snowfall amounts across BC, Washington, Oregon, Cascades there. Keep going on to the future. We've got multiple rounds of precip coming in here, multiple storms, so we're going to continue to build up at least some snowfall across the snowpack. We're not going to go total drought conditions here as far as snow is concerned, but British Columbia is looking at pretty good shot of snowfall here as we go through the 10-day period. Some areas up over 50 inches shown there, and not bad for the Washington Cascades, a little bit less for the Oregon Cascades, but also some snowfall possible for eastern Oregon, some of the higher terrain as well as eastern BC, and off to the Rockies, a bit of snowfall also. Sierra Nevada goes without saying. If you guys have been watching the news here, a lot of snowfall headed their way. I'll do a video on that here later. This is total precipitation here. You see the weak frontal system now, just a few hundredths of an inch for Seattle, for example, some for the coast here. But then here comes our big system here up the Oregon coastline here as we go through the day. Thursday shown here. You see it kind of stay offshore until about Thursday afternoon. Then you see the precipitation spread across the interior a bit. Some of the Cascades, Southwest BC gets in on that action too. A couple waves from that system. And then we continue to bring systems across Pacific Northwest. Again, the coast is going to be targeted here, and some of the Cascades west will be targeted. British Columbia doing pretty well in the higher terrain also, but not many impacts really east of the Cascades for these, at least for the next several days here as far as systems are concerned, unless you're in the higher terrain. Again, the higher terrain in Northeast Oregon especially could get some strong winds. You can see there's some pretty good precipitation amounts as you go on through Monday night also. But just kind of showing you the total precipitation here across Pacific Northwest. Nothing too crazy, but not bad totals. Now taking a look at wind and wave heights here. Now this is significant wave height and direction. So here's the big storm right there, and you can clearly see this spread large waves all the way from Vancouver Island all the way down to Southern California. Monster storm system here setting up shop, and it is going to bring some strong waves. So Thursday might not be a bad day to be out there viewing some of these waves, especially on the southern Oregon coast, northern California coastline here. But you can see it extend all the way up Washington, Vancouver Island by Thursday afternoon, sunset there. And then we get a bit of a break. Then you can see additional systems still keeping the waves active here. Then another potential deep system as we go on in through the following week shown there. But yeah, it's always fun to watch these waves come in. If you can find a nice spot where the swell's hitting perfectly, it makes for some great wave watching conditions along our coastline here. Very rugged coast, especially across Washington and Vancouver Island, if you can get out there to some of the spots. Now this is Southwest Oregon Regional Airport. You can see the storm system here if you look closely in the ensemble members. So the mean is about 50 miles per hour here, with some gusts showing up towards 60 there, and then kind of just a smattering random dots of high winds in the extended forecast here as we get these systems riding up the west coast of North America here. So it's kind of like a fantasy windstorm egg hunt out here as you look out into the 10-day forecast. Now this is Astoria. You can see gusts 40s, maybe 50 miles per hour out here as we go on in through Wednesday night and through Thursday morning as the storm system moves up our coastline. So heads up for that. Not too incredibly strong, but then you can kind of see the smattering of high winds again here out in Fantasyland. for Astoria. This is Quileute, Washington here, and you can kind of see these winds are getting close to 50 plus here, and the mean is right about 50 miles per hour. So there could be some strong winds clipping the northwest Washington coast and the southwest Washington coast as well with the storm system as it goes by Thursday night into Friday morning shown there. So that would include Vancouver Island as well. This is Salem interior there down the Willamette Valley I-5 corridor. It looks like some of these ensembles have 50 mile per hour gusts, and a lot of them have 40 plus as well. So heads up for that. Could be some nuisance power outages, and I'll be interested to see if they put up a wind advisory during this time as well. Again, this is probably during the day and afternoon on Thursday for Salem. This is Seattle-Tacoma, not too bad. Just a handful of ensemble members with 40 plus, 1-2 with 50 plus, but that's probably not going to happen. But you can see some of them are even down into the 20s, but probably just some blustery winds in the 35 mile per hour range for most of the Seattle area here. Now looking at Spokane, you can see much less impacts as far as wind is concerned here as you go on into eastern Washington, save for the higher terrain that is. This is Pendleton. You can see a lot of ensembles are up into the 40s, close to 50 miles per hour here. The ensemble mean right around 40 here as well. So heads up out there if you were in the higher terrain of eastern Washington, Oregon for these winds as we go on in through Thursday. Now, this is the European, and we're looking at the Pacific North American Oscillation here. You can see how we're kind of in positive territory here, which is kind of classified by low pressure being out over the Pacific Ocean here and ridging being closer to the Pacific Northwest. But look, it's kind of hinting at a change here coming about mid-month. So we'll have to see what happens with this here. Are we going to go into another cool pattern here as we go into the second half of January? A lot of the models don't really show that, but it's kind of interesting seeing this here on the European with the Pacific North American Oscillation here. So we'll just watch this for now and see how it trends. This will probably flip back and forth before it starts to decide on what's in our future. So anyway, beautiful looking storm out there on the mid-level water vapor loop here. I had some other business I had to take care of today, so I'm getting this video out a little bit late. I'll do a California video here coming up next as well, but I plan to do my normal briefings tomorrow morning also. So hopefully you guys can get out there and do some wave watching if you can. If not, watch out in the higher terrain and along the coastline for those winds and continue to watch the snowpack build up, hopefully through January. And, hopefully we don't trend too warm across the area here. I don't want to damage the snowpack too much, keep the skiers happy and keep our water supply happy on in through the summer. But anyway, I'll do the regular briefing tomorrow. Thanks to all my new subscribers out there. We're up over 20,000 subscribers now. So you guys make this channel possible, and I'll talk to you guys tomorrow.